If they can't show that carbon dioxide is causing global warming, how do they still go on painting it as the bad guy? Well, their next move is to talk about ocean acidification. You know, that it causes ocean acidification, and this is going to be a massive disaster for our seas. Now,
and that's another trick, because the ocean is acid. It's carbolic.
Yes. Well, also what you find is that the ecosystem deals with this sort of problem quite naturally. It's not going to create ecological disaster. But keeping up with these guys, with these slippery, it's like trying to wrestle an eel covered in in mud. I mean, how do you do it? How do you keep up with these new factoids that keep being produced by the warmists?
Stay there. Let's continue to break that down. Let's get into some of the other scandals. Recap the criminal investigations with ClimateGate, Copenhagen falling apart, what Prince Charles is up to. It's all coming up with our guest, James Delingpole. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. James Delingpole, who's a writer for the Times of London, Sunday Times of London, the Daily Telegraph, the Spectator, and best-selling author, of course, of Obamaland. I have seen your future, and it doesn't work. So, and he wrote that right when Obama got into office. He's certainly been proven right. It's like we've been proven right with the Obama deception and Fall of the Republic. Get those DVDs and keep educating folks, because we are starting to rout these people at Infowars.com. Okay, James, getting back now. I've been asking a lot of questions, but I want to get into you're a wellspring of knowledge on these issues. How you see them counterattacking, how they're trying to buttress themselves by giving each other awards. Prince Charles going and visiting the main nest of criminals.
Yeah.
What happened with ClimateGate, the new investigations. In hindsight, what ClimateGate blowing up the Copenhagen fraud did to the move for the EU-wide global dictatorship. James Delingpole, break it down.
Well, Alex, I had a very depressing lunch on New Year's Day with a distant member of my family, and it turns out he's now working for something called the European Climate Foundation, and the European Climate Foundation is one of those charitable bodies which is pumping in a lot of money into funding climate change advocacy groups. It is in it up to the neck. It was there at Copenhagen at the negotiating table, staying in all the best hotels. And I asked him whether ClimateGate, which, as you remember, the story broke during at the beginning of the Copenhagen, Libtard Fest. And I said, has ClimateGate had any effect whatsoever on the negotiation process? And do you know what he said? It didn't even register. He said, as far as we were concerned, the process moves on. We don't really care what other people say. All that matters is the process. And this, I'm afraid, is what we're going to see throughout the world. We're going to see big government ignoring the arguments against man-made global warming completely and carrying on with the legislation on carbon, carrying on with the taxing. The reason this scam is so dangerous is I keep trying to I blog about this every day for the Telegraph in London, and some people say to me, why do you keep going on and on about this subject? Why can't you talk about something else?
Because I want to hear your answer, but it's a takeover of society. It's a cult. You've got Common Purpose and others funded by this EU group. Here locally in Austin, they reported last year that a CIA attached Special Forces colonel is running for the city, the Green Movement. They're taking property. They're implementing. Schwarzenegger is getting the governors and mayors together. And so I think what you're saying here is this is literally a collectivist cult of robbers, and they're brainwashing our kids. They're not going to stop. They've got kids writing fake tickets in England and the U.S. in the New York Times, climate cops. They've got TV shows about reporting on your neighbors. The point is, this is the Bolsheviks.
I would say, Alex, that it is no exaggeration at all to say that the Green Movement is more dangerous than the communist movement or even the Nazi movement. And the reason is that, okay, we had to fight a terrible war to defeat Nazism. But the point was that the threat of Nazism was essentially military. We defeated the Soviets as well through a combination of proxy wars, and effectively Ronald Reagan bankrupted them, didn't he, through the Star Wars program. The Green Movement is more dangerous in a way because it is more insidious. It is not confronting us through military means. It is presenting itself as this caring movement, which only a heartless, nature-hating, evil person could possibly disagree with. And that is why it presents a problem to those of us who understand its true menace. How do we show to the world at large that this movement threatens our society, threatens our freedoms, threatens everything we believe in? It's a big problem because, you know, a lot of the people involved in the Green Movement are cuddly, polar bear loving, caring people. They're not nasty people. And it is a constant struggle fighting against their arguments.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I have the New York Times. I have the LA Times. I see it where I live. I see the textbooks. I put my children in a...
For example, you know, I mean, my daughter started having choir lessons at Christmas. And one of the songs they sang was that lovely song about the snowman, which is very nice. And another of the songs was called When Will We Learn? And it went on and on about, you know, when will we learn to stop being so horrible to nature? Humans are evil, you know, we must save the planet. The kids are brainwashed, you know.
And let me stop you, because I was about to say, I put my kids in private school for 1 year, and even a Christian private school, it was all government-approved brainwashing. We tried to even buy homeschooler material. Most of it has the brainwashing. And they chant these songs in the public schools. They have the kids go home and write fake tickets and reports on their parents. Don't take a hot bath. Don't run the water while you brush your teeth. And it has nothing to do with the environment. That's the thing. They say, well, it's to save the earth. No, these are cold-hearted tacticians at the top that want to create an anti-human guilt to make humanity the enemy so the collectivists can run the state.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is very much like the Hitler Youth being encouraged to report on their parents. You know, my son is at one of the most expensive, most highly rated private prep schools in the country. And even he gets fed the eco-propaganda. And one of the reasons he gets this eco-propaganda, and the school has actually designated itself an eco-school, the reason it does so is because half the middle-class mothers actually like this nonsense. They like to hear that the school is an eco-school and that teaches their children this wellness, because it has become a fashionable agenda for what we call the chattering classes, you know, the yummy mummies, all these nice, you know, high-earning middle-class people. They, too, subscribe to the organic movement. They, too...
Let me go further. Mark Dice, who's a reporter who I know, he went out last week in San Diego, and over 90% of the people he talked to, it was mainly women, young women, and middle-class, middle-aged women. They all, the women except for one old lady, said ban free speech. He had a fake petition saying ban free speech, arrest anybody that disagrees with Obama. It's time to shut these people up. And they would sign it, put their name, their info. I mean, they are ready. And they think we run society, we're good. And so now it's a Nazi/Soviet movement run by a bunch of useful idiot women.
Yes, useful idiot, well-paid or well-paid husbands, middle-class women. Yeah, exactly. With all these wonderful lifestyles, and they want to reintroduce eco-fascism to the world. It is very, very scary.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you about your kids. It's just that we're all having this experience of living in a more and more Orwellian system where our children are denouncing us and you know, literally right out of 1984, and we see it. This will lead to North Korea if they win.
Well, this is what of course, Jonah that Goldberg talks about in liberal fascism. You know, fascist movements throughout the 20th century, and the same applies to communist movements in the 20th century, what they needed was a cause so great that it required government to step in and override individual freedom, because this cause was so important that only mass government action could deal with it. And of course, with environmentalism, they have the perfect excuse to ride roughshod over democracy, to deny voters the right to choose who governs them, because this cause is so important that only the United Nations, only world government can really save us from this menace. And this is what we're up against.
But didn't that backfire on them for decades? I'd read UN, Club of Rome, saying they were going to set up a world government, that we'd pay taxes to them. And they said, oh, you're crazy. That doesn't exist. I'm like, but I have your own book. I have your own biological diversity assessment, 1996. So they stonewalled, but now they come out and go, world government's here to save you, to save the penguins, the polar bears. I think that's another reason they're so discredited, is they're so full of hubris and arrogance. They think they can just sit up there and say, the science is settled, world government will save you. People fundamentally, even if they're dumbed down, know science is never settled. That's what the scientific method's all about. People know